153 of Rhys's stories, and today I'm going to be reading you Moany McMoan, the School Tour, written and illustrated by Ray Flannery. And today I'm going to be reading you Chapter 4. Wingy called for me yesterday morning to go to school, even earlier than normal. I still can't work out why he called for me as we pass his house on the way to school. Maybe he thinks that we don't have an alarm clock in our house. Turns out, though, it was actually a good job he called. He reminded me that we were due to have a PE inspection today. I had completely forgotten all about it. Too busy thinking about my responsibilities for my big job during the summer. There was no doubt that the school, only the school hero, but the hero of the whole town. It's not every day that he would get the chance to see a celebrity like me in action. Might even give him an autograph if he wants one. Not doing one of those selfie things though. Don't like them. I shouted down to Mum to see if she knew where my PE t-shirt was, because I had searched everywhere and I couldn't find it. Mum came to the bottom of the stairs and shouted up at me, if it had teeth it would bite you. Now, I told you before, she is a bit mad, like whoever heard of a t-shirt that had teeth and could actually bite you. It's in the hot press, neatly ironed. I put it there so it will be nice and warm when you put it on. She said, try using your big superhero muscles and opening the hot press door, and then try opening your eyes and see that all your PE gear is there. When we got into school, Mr. O'Rourke was waiting for us. Right, everybody, sit down, he shouted. As you know, today we are having a PE inspection, and Coach Ferguson is looking for volunteers for a PE demonstration, which he wants to put on in order to impress the inspector, said Mr. O'Rourke in a calmer voice. Do I have any volunteers? Well, I didn't need to be asked twice. My hand shot up into the air. Wingy put his hand up too. Mr. O'Rourke smiled. If you two were as keen to put your hands up when I asked you a question in class, I could be even more impressed. Both of our faces went red at the same time. Just then Robbie Byrne put up his hand. I nearly fell off my chair. Robbie Byrne was the only child in our class who hated PE even more than Pug, and that was saying something now. What I hadn't seen was that Pete had pinched Robbie, and that was why his hand went up. Pug thought it was hilarious, but what he didn't realise that Mr. O'Rourke had seen what had happened. Pete Roberts, stand up, shouted Mr. O'Rourke. You have two choices. Your almost daily visit to Mrs. Strong's office, or seeing as you are in such a volunteering mood you can also volunteer for the demonstration. I wouldn't let him volunteer for being that bold in class. The choice is yours, said Mr. O'Rourke. It was Pete's turn for his face to go bright red, especially when he realised that he had forgotten to bring his gear in. Now what was he going to do? The four of us left the class and headed down to see what Coach Ferguson had in mind for us. Pete never said one single word the whole way down, not even a smart comment. Coach Ferguson just looked at Pete and Robbie when we went into his office. He had probably expected myself and Wingy to volunteer, but not the other two. Can I help you two boys? He said to the other pair. "Are you lost?" Just as Puck was about to speak, I said, "Where are your We are your volunteers, Coach." Coach Ferguson started laughing. Ha ha ha. But not the normal laugh you would do if you were happy. It was a strange type of laugh. I had to check if he was actually laughing or crying. His face was making strange shapes as if he was in pain. "Where is your gear, Mr. Burns?" he asked. "I forgot it, Coach," Pete replied very nervously. "Well now," said Coach Ferguson, "you may go into the lost property store and see if there is some gear in there that will fit you. It's the only option you have." Pete trudged off to the store very slowly. He seemed to be gone for ages when suddenly he appeared around the corner. I fell to my knees as soon as I saw him. I laughed, ha ha ha, so much that not only did tears start rolling down my cheeks, but a little snot dribbled from my nose. The shorts Pete found were at least 2 sizes too small for him, and the t-shirt had a dirty, great stain on the back. "It's all that I could find," said Pete, very sheepishly. "I think he thought Coach would send him back to class to get someone else instead." "Ah, well," said the coach, "you will just have to do, I suppose. After all, beggars can't be choosers." We all looked at each other. None of us had a clue what he was talking about, like what has being a beggar got to do with PE here. These old people are just plain weird. Then it got worse. Pete was trying to touch his toes when all of a sudden we heard rip. He got so embarrassed, Coach Ferguson just pointed in the direction of the lost property store. "Go back in there and have a good look for something to wear and get right back here," said Coach. A few minutes later, Pete returned. This time I did fall on the ground when I saw him. The only thing Pete could find was a skirt. Those things that girls wear that are a mixture of pair of shorts and a skirt. I started to get a pain in my tummy. I was laughing so hard. Ha 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 ha! Wingy had to run to the bathroom. Coach Ferguson said nothing but put his clipboard up in front of his face. We all knew he was laughing. Ha 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 ha! Because we could see his shoulders going up and down. He couldn't help himself. When eventually everybody managed to stop laughing. Ha ha ha. Coach Ferguson told us what he wanted us to do for the display. For supreme athletes such as myself and even for Wingy it was going to be easy, but as for the other two. Put it this way, for once, I wish that I wasn't so supremely talented, so that I could be sitting down watching the other two perform with the rest of the school. We did a few practice runs before heading back to class. The big inspection was going to be first thing after lunch. I presumed that we would have been given a special lunch for volunteering, with a chef coming in to cook our favourite meal. I presumed wrong. After all, I always thought celebrities received payment for turning up to things like this. Wrong again. When the lunchtime bell rang, we all went to our usual